MrBeast has changed the world, and it's not in the way that you think it is. Would you have assumed that the average attention span was 8 seconds? Rewind the clocks. In a deleted interview with MrBeast manager, he talks about how MrBeast had studied the art of how to make a video go viral. The answer, in short, is retention. This was very important for Jimmy, because if you look at his early content, there's no common theme. However, the goal for him wasn't just to be a YouTuber, it was to be the best one. To redefine entertainment and conquer the world's supply of it, how do you do that? Back in 2016, a platform named Vine was growing rapidly. It was on track to become something revolutionary, beyond what it already was. But Vine made a fatal move. It didn't compensate its creators. No revenue provides no reason to stay, and with that, Vine crumbled and closed as all of its creators fled elsewhere. The competing platform of interest was Musical.ly, and despite being Vine's competitor, it didn't see the uptick it was hoping for. While Musical.ly still saw the crown unworn and shining, something needed to be done to reach for it, and a little after a year, they decided to rebrand. So while you may not know the name Musical.ly, you certainly know the name TikTok, and from then on, it was a waiting game. By distancing itself enough from the concept of Vine, TikTok stood its ground, and it only took about a year for it to reach the top. Around this time, MrBeast had well established his name on YouTube. Every video was bringing something new to the field of content creation, and signs were showing that he certainly wasn't on track to slow down. Towards the end of the year, he had inched his way past 20 million subscribers, and it was around this time that he pulled a massive turning point move: Team Trees. As a milestone for surpassing 20 million, Jimmy saw the opportunity to globalize his acts of philanthropy and obtain a massive amount of exposure. This was the plan. Team Trees' motto was that for every dollar donated, one tree would be planted, and since MrBeast's entire image was rooted in the concept of charity, not only could he do an act of grace against a globally threatening problem, but he could also tag along nearly every major creator with him. In short, this mass uniting handed him a massive leg up as the most prominent rising figure in YouTube history, surpassing 50 million that next year and just under double that the following year. With nearly 100 million subscribers, MrBeast expanded himself to both TikTok and the newly released YouTube Shorts system, which in time granted him a new wave of exposure and a new fan base. MrBeast grew his name on the average YouTube goer, people who could understand his content, but by branching out to short form, he tapped into a larger consumer base, the iPad baby. The iPad baby phenomenon arose out of the idea of the iPad kid in the COVID-19 pandemic. People who get so consumed into their media consumption that their brain just turns into that of a baby or a kid on an iPad. If you find yourself mindlessly doom scrolling through social media, you are the iPad baby. But here's the thing, children are not capable of mature, independent thought. So when your fan base is largely composed of very young viewers, you practically lead an army of followers. And before MrBeast took advantage of it, we saw it with YouTube Kids, and we know that didn't turn out very well. There's a reason why no social media platforms are promoted towards or encouraging children to use them, and that's largely because the young brain is incredibly susceptible to everything. And at this point, you may see where I'm going with this. Let me explain how content comes across your feed. First, the content's posted, and it notifies your followers and a sample pool of unbiased or unrelated viewers. The content posted has many track stats to it, a couple of which include retention and interaction. The more that these two stats grow, the more people that content is pushed out to. Now let's go over why children play a massive part in this. First off, there's a lot of them. Over a quarter of the world's population is 14 or under, and when your viewer base is children, or children get a hold of your catchy, flashy content, not only does that expand your content's retention and interaction, it also taps into that child's gradual expectation for content and shortens their attention span for it. This content is then deemed likable and dispersed further, reaching not only more young viewers, but people like you and I, and best believe that we are also incredibly susceptible to those very same things. When you reach this point, content creation and growth is really nothing more than a chain reaction, but just like the real world, this largely benefits the creator and doesn't do much for the consumer. Some of the largest issues, as always, are the long-term effects. Short-form content has been an industry ruler for years now, and we are seeing its negative impacts. I was making a point earlier. I believe it was, if you were to take a guess, would you have assumed that the average attention span was 8 seconds long? In the modern world, the average attention span is 8 seconds long, shorter than it took me to state that.